You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
What's up, the internet? It's Kyle. How's it going? This is In Stores This Week, where we talk about books that are in stores this week, including a book that might be in stores this week and might not be in stores until the middle of May, depending on which version you want, from Larry Hama. We've got new Neil Gaiman Norse Mythology. We have 3 Dynamite books that absolutely kick ass, and a bunch of other really cool books from a bunch of other really cool creators. Stay tuned in just about 30 seconds time for Dan, Jay, and I talking about comic book craziness. We're here.
Yes.
Dan is still reading.
Smart.
I picked up the Shadow Man trade for the first 4 issues. We got the final tonight, but I was looking through. There's a great section in here by John Davis Hunt, commenting on his designs for the characters. And I was reading about Baron Samaldi.
I could have used that for issue 5 because I honestly, we'll talk about it when we get to the book.
Yeah.
But I honestly had to go back and find issue 5 in my long box. Be like, now what the hell happened in issue 5?
Well,
So
this is only 1 through 4. So.
I understand, but I could have used it for issue 5. Like, I only needed it for issue 5.
Oh, okay.
So I guess welcome in everybody to In Stores This Week. That's Dan. That's Jay. Dan is wearing a Green Lantern hat or Green Arrow hat.
Green Arrow.
Green Arrow hat.
Yeah.
Which I do that to John on the Rex and John show all the time. Is I just go green anything other than Hornet when they're showing a Green Hornet book because it just he turns as red as my hat. It's hysterical.
Do you use Green Llama?
No, but I will tomorrow.
Because, you know, that is a character that Dynamite has put out.
I will tomorrow. The other day I did Jolly Green Giant, and I thought his head was going to explode. I'm wearing a Mud Hens hat. Toledo Mud Hens. Go Toledo Mud Hens. And Jay is wearing, is that a North Carolina Tar Heels hat?
Yes.
Nice. That is the hat recap for this week.
Are we supposed to be wearing sports hats? Because I got a few. We can get to those.
No, I'm wearing this because it goes with my overall vibe. I had a meeting with some people who were involved with this team today. So I was trying to suck up through my headwear.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about comics.
Okay.
One of the biggest books this week is a book that I said on the last show, but I'll say it again on the show. Read really, really, really fast because it contains no words.
Yes. Plus, it helped to have actually read it once before when I bought it originally.
True. So this is the G.I. Joe Real American Hero 40th Anniversary One-Shot Special by Larry Hama and 22 other dudes.
Yep.
It's all the great artists who have worked on Larry Hama's G.I. Joe runs over the years. Sean Butler, that's not true. I know he has a Superman hat. I've seen it. Anyhow, everybody else who's worked on G.I. Joes throughout the years with Larry Hama, it is a silent issue. It's not the original silent issue, kind of, but it is a silent issue in the vein of Real American Hero number 21.
Yeah, I mean, basically they redo the silent issue with the same artist, and then they show you the silent issue in it as it was.
Well, there's a little bit of a different plot point in the new one. Like, the storytelling is kind of the same. Whenever you don't use words and you tell a G.I. Joe story, it's going to be kind of the same. Largely the same, but they did some updating, is what I would call it.
Okay, like what?
Just more tech.
Oh.
Like, it's kind of, but it's like, okay, it's a little more modernized version, like if it was happening now.
Yeah.
Lady J doesn't look like Squirrel Girl anymore.
It kind of.
Yeah, it's still the same story.
Yeah.
So,
same
beat, same panels, just
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rob Liefeld shows up.
so much.
I'm shocked Rob Liefeld's page isn't just the exact same page. Like, literally, he just was like, here's my page. And Larry Hahn will be like, that's the same page you turned in 30 years ago. And he'd be like, I don't care. Because if anybody's going to, stealing other people's art is not good unless you're Rob Liefeld and you steal from yourself, which he has done more times than I care to count. All right. Should we go next to a book that's super confusing, or a book that features demonic porta potty remnants?
Let's go with the super confusing one because I'm not sure which one's the super.
Yep.
I said, like, was I wrong? This book was super confusing.
Yes.
It wasn't confusing to me. It just was very strange.
Well, like, confusing intentionally, like not confusing, like I couldn't follow what was happening.
Yeah.
But the book was supposed to be super confusing. This is The Wrong Earth, Fame and Fortune #1 by Mark Russell and Michael Montenant. So
basically, you're just seeing a parallel story of these two guys. One is supposed to be the dark and gritty bastard version, Dragonfly, and then Dragonfly Man, who's supposed to be the more light and cheery and stuff. But they both turn out to be absolute bastards in this.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
One just does it with a smile in a brighter city.
Yeah.
Well, I think one is, and this is my read on it, and I don't know. I'd love to ask Mark Russell if this is what he intended. One is that person who is super slimy and is getting over on you and screwing you, and you don't notice because they're so nice.
Mm-hmm.
And the other is the guy, you know, you're in bed with a bastard, but you're in too deep already, right? It's like, I don't know if you guys have had this experience in your work lives where you hire in and you realize really quickly, oh, your boss is the worst person ever, but you're stuck, right? You've signed that contract, you're in, versus the guy who your boss feels like a really good guy who is just blowing smoke up your ass while at the same time making decisions that are in the long term going to hurt you. I'll be honest. I think Mark Russell is exercising a lot of the demons that he experienced when working for larger publishers through these stories.
All right. So you're saying one of these guys is Marvel and the other guy is DC?
I didn't say that.
I'll say it.
Hold on. Oh, you could. Hold on. I didn't say that.
Wink.
I have to work with these people, Dan.
I still hope to. So.
Right. No, it's, you know, anybody, and Dan, you can probably speak to this. Anybody who's been in the biz as long as Mark Russell has had both things happen, right? Where it's one guy's gaslighting you and one guy's just being a douche to your face.
Yeah. But I put up with you anyway.
Correct. No, but it's everybody who's ever worked professionally will have that. And I think Mark is just using this as a way to kind of be like, hey, this is what happens. Remember that when you get angry at somebody because they didn't do what you wanted them to do with Superboy. So, anybody else have any thoughts?
It just was weird to me. I'm not sure why that was a story we needed to hear.
I will say this: the backup story in it about how superhero or super sidekicks are the worst, and the buddy system is awful, was my favorite part of this book. Because sidekicks are the worst.
True. I didn't get that far. I didn't even see that down there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to reread it
past
now.
the letter section. Which, by the way, the letter section in this book is hysterical.
Yeah. It's all drink recipes. There's a bunch of drink recipes in this one.
No, the letter section I read was like a Q&A section.
Oh, there's a section of drink recipes.
Oh, yeah. Where one person goes, tell me all the different kinds of refrigeration. Like, and it's, then there's the response to that is, wait, why would a comic book artist know all the different kinds of refrigeration or whatever? Say, I need your Q&A in the form of a Q. Just more like, it was pretty good. The things that weren't the main story were the best part of this book. All right, now for Toilet Monsters. I'm going to cop to this. This is Angel number 4 by Christopher Cantwell and Daniel Bayliss. I'm going to cop to something. I read the first page, was like, there's no way in hell I'm reading this book, and moved on. And then Jen texts me and goes, hey, I need somebody to fill in on my show to be a co-reader. So I'm like, well, I need to read more than I had read, which was to say I needed to finish this book. So I went back and read it. It took me 4 or 5 pages to realize that this wasn't a joke book that Dan had sent me trying to screw with me. I don't have any words for this book.
Not good. At least to me. To me, the jokes didn't land. I don't know. I haven't read a whole lot of Angel, though, so I don't know if this is how the series is supposed to be. But
it kind of follows the way it was set up in the final season. The jokes, some of them worked for me. It was a little confusing when they put everybody into the bodysuits.
Right. They all look the same.
Yeah. And I'm not sure exactly why they got to mess with Wes like that.
oh,
Right.
okay, that part was funny. I did laugh at that.
Yeah. But yeah, and why Cordelia was in a, I think it was Cordelia in a,
Yeah, she was dressed like Jeannie from My Dream of Jeannie.
yeah, belly dancer outfit maybe. I don't know. It seemed like it was kind of a convoluted storyline to begin with. So you ended up with a convoluted ending.
Right. Like there were panels in there about kids playing laser tag.
Yeah.
That never paid off anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. That one was kind of strange. It was more like, well, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. Well, we're going to do this. You're not going. No, we're doing that here. We're going to be playing laser tag while you're gone.
Right. It's like, bye, Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
Quick, let's make a mess. Like, why is that relevant?
It wasn't a great book. I will give you that, but I didn't hate it. But it's like, okay, we wrapped up.
Where it left off, they introduce a new baddie.
Yes.
Is this well, crap? We wanted to wrap everything up in 3 issues, but we can't. We don't have the pages for the start of the next storyline in time for issue 4 to be released. So we're going to move it to issue 5, and we need to write a story to fill in.
No, I think they did plan it out like this because there was a lot of stuff to clean up in this issue besides the turd monsters.
But turd monsters, like listen, comic book industry, if in the course of creating a comic, turd monsters is something you write, and you're doing a book that isn't called Invasion of the Alien Toilet Monsters, which is a book, by the way.
It is, yes.
By a friend of mine. Stop. Just walk away, hang it up, burn the pages, just move on. So.
You're a little preachy tonight, I got to tell you.
It's been a day. I'm just saying, turd monsters do not good comics make.
This week on In Anger this week, Kyle.
This week on Kyle spent way too many hours this week talking about money with people who have way more of it than him. No, I'm kidding, kinda, but only a little. No, I'll be honest. Like, if a first page of a book, which happened with that one, makes me want to stop reading a series that I had been previously enjoying, a fatal mistake has been made. Like, if the whole book makes me go, okay, I've reached my end on this book, which there's a book that did that last week for me, then I'll that's just the way it goes, right? That's just how storytelling works. But the first page splash makes me go, nope, I'm done.
Yeah.
All right. Sean goes, but are you? And I go, I don't know what that means.
I think when you said okay, he's asking if you are okay because you seem angry.
Maybe a little bit.
By the
All
way,
right.
Jay needs to get a yellow hat,
Mm-hmm.
and then we put between us.
Sean, let's find a yellow hat, bro.
Well, but then we got to put an overlay with plus signs and an equal sign.
Yeah.
Red plus, and you got to get an orange hat or something. I don't know. I don't know what you're referencing. Oh, you're referencing a stoplight.
Traffic signal.
Here in Ohio, those are called suggestions.
Like, did he just go black for you? Because he did for me.
Mm-mm.
You mean black humor?
No, your screen went blank.
Oh, I might have. I hit my table with my elbow, and it might. My video switcher. I need to replace the cord, so it might have kicked out for just a second. All right, let's move on to one of my favorite books of the week, which has not been one of my favorite books we've been reading. Norse Mythology, Neil Gaiman and P. Craig Russell.
This was about a perfect example of Norse mythology as you could get, because the story is both ludicrous and entertaining at the same time. You know, we're going to go out and make sure everybody's crying for Balder. Just, you know, we're going to ask the rocks if they weep for Balder. I'm sorry, you're going to do what?
Well, if rocks don't weep for boulders, what are you doing?
No, not boulders. Balder.
I understand, but if you say it with an accent.
Boulder.
Nobody has an accent. Other people have accents.
People where I'm from have no accent.
Exactly my point.
No, it's so okay. We'll come back to this in a second. We're going to address something real quick. Have you ever noticed that the people who are your most famous broadcasters all went to school in the Midwest? It's because when they come to the Midwest, they could be teached out of whatever regional dialect they have. So, for instance, your guys who originally start in Boston come in and they don't say their ahs all the time. So you can train them. So the best broadcasting schools in the country are in the Midwest because they have the least specific regionalized accents.
I'd like to answer the first question you asked. No, I didn't notice that most of the best broadcasters came. I'm pretty sure I don't know who most of the best broadcasters are outside of Vin Scully and Harry Carey. And maybe
Harry Carey went to the University of Indiana.
Okay. But also, I'm not that much of a broadcasting geek that I know where these people come from.
Al Michaels went to Northwestern.
Vin Scully?
Vin Scully got his start straight out of high school.
From
L.A. Right. No, but you'll notice if you listen to Vin Scully, he has a very distinct West Coast, which isn't a very strong accent, but it's a West Coast accent.
Kyle, I was born and raised in Los Angeles. Vin Scully has no accent at all.
To your ear.
That was the point that I started this with.
But there are actual accents, by the way. So
nobody has to count Joe Buck.
Joe Buck apparently learned to talk by putting marbles in his mouth and mimicking his father. All right. So Norse mythology.
Bob Euchre.
Bob Euchre.
Just a bit outside.
Right. Bob Euchre. I don't know where Bob Euchre went to school. I'd have to look that up.
You failed in the geekness. Give up your broadcasting geek card.
Dan Patrick went to the University of Dayton. Jim Rome went to... Where did he go? He went to Cleveland State.
You count Jim Rome?
I do, because he's one of those guys who was trained out of his accent.
Ah.
Fran Drescher went to Purdue. Trained out of her accent and then trained back into it to become famous. All right. So Neil Gaiman's Norse Mythology. Here's why I loved this book, and I haven't liked it so far.
Okay.
It finally felt like the Norse mythology that I knew. Right?
Asking rocks if they cried.
Kinda, yeah. The rocks cry out. Like, it's a thing in a lot of different mythos. But like I said, it's one of those... so often with this book, it feels like it's Neil Gaiman trying to reinvent 8th century Norse mythology in the way that Neil Gaiman does. And this was just like, this is a great story anyway. Let's just tell it.
The fact they went ahead and put Zeus's brand new son stabbing his older brother.
Yeah.
Right on the cover. Just right there on the cover. And that's perfectly normal for Norse mythology.
True. Jay, how about you?
This felt, I like this one more than the Marvel story that was almost the same. Felt like something we read a little while back had Balder, Thor, Loki was in the end of it. It was a Marvel book.
On the show?
Huh? No? Was it
We haven't
another?
done any Marvel books. They don't send them to us.
Well, what was I reading? I remember reading something kind of. Maybe it was this.
It was the first part of this book.
Okay, that's what. Wait, I don't know why it felt like Marvel. Maybe that's why I get it confused, because Marvel uses a lot of those characters. There we go. You'll have to forgive me. I liked it. I'm liking it a little more and more every time I read it. I got to remember sometimes Marvel uses Thor and Loki and Odin and all them, and I get that confused sometimes.
Still waiting for Balder the Brave to make his MCU debut.
Bob Euchre never attended college. He got the job calling baseball games immediately after stopping his playing career. Evil Ernie number 5. This is just gonna put this out there. There are 2 covers this week. One that we get to talk about and one that we don't because we didn't get a PDF of it that I'm super stoked about. This is one of them. Arthur Saddam just massacred this cover. And I'm going to see him in 2 weeks at Astronomicon, so I'm going to have him sign this. Evil Ernie number 5. Jay, we said we were going to make you lead a book this week. Which one do you want to do, by the way?
I can kind of do this one.
All right.
Take it away.
All right. So, first and foremost, the only reason I really know this character is because he was in a crossover with Hack Slash. I don't know a whole lot of Dynamite folks. This is a Dynamite book, right?
Yes.
This is Chaos Dynamite. Yep.
Okay. The thing that I'm wondering about this, because I always thought Evil Ernie was his own person. Is it the button?
No, the button's Smiley.
The button is Smiley. Okay.
Yeah, but he hangs out with Ernie.
Okay.
Yeah, Dan, do you want to explain? Because you probably will do a better job of explaining it than I will.
Definitely.
The short version is basically Ernie is a demon from hell that takes over a human body, and when he does so, it's when Smiley is put on him. So Smiley is like a homing beacon in a sense for the demon to know where to come through.
Thank you. That was what I was going to try and be like. You know how the button is a thing in the Watchmen, and when the buttons are on, the Watchmen show up? It's kind of like that.
Okay.
But Dan did a much better job.
It was, for something I've never read before. Again, I liked it. There's a really cool Superman homage in there, just for like a split second. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
really enjoyed that. Cool art. Some of the graphicness was really good. There was the ending really surprised me. I thought somebody was actually going to get away, and then they didn't.
Yeah. In this book, there's some story. I don't know if it's really a wrap up of a story or not, because my Evil Ernie knowledge is patchy. But you see these characters that have been prominent in Evil Ernie stories for years that kind of find themselves separating at the end. And it really turns into a much more sort of, and this happened in the freaking Angel book too. A saccharine story that I didn't expect about the power of love. That's the power of love. No, thank you. It was almost a little too sweet for an Evil Ernie story, in my opinion. But if there was ever going to be a way to kind of reframe the way Evil Ernie and Smiley interact in the world, that was the way to do it. Because it's all about a girl, man. It's all about a girl.
My Evil Ernie experience goes back to the first Chaos comic, buying it from Brian Pulido and Stephen Harris.
Yeah.
From them at a comic shop in Orange County the day it came out, because they were doing a signing and I was hanging out at the shop. This is definitely a more toned down version than Brian did. If you're a Lady Death fan, Lady Death comes from the original Evil Ernie comics. The character we get in here is kind of a replacement, because Lady Death got separated from Chaos Comics when Chaos went bankrupt, and Dynamite now owns all the Chaos characters except Lady Death. But it's definitely a toned down version of the character. The character is usually much more kill everybody. We don't really see a human side of him. Whoever he takes over, he completely takes over. So it's kind of interesting to see this take on it. It's very different, but the ending, had he let the girl get away, I would have been disappointed, because that would have been totally away from Ernie. So for that last moment kind of saved it for me. But it's been a fun series, and I think it's kind of an interesting take on Ernie, kind of a revamp or a reboot. And I think, even though this is the end of the miniseries, I think Dynamite could definitely do something with this character going forward in this new setup.
And I asked Nick, because that was the thing I took away. It's like, okay, I want to immediately start reading the next phase. Right? Okay, now this person has some control over Ernie, and Ernie is willing to relinquish that control a little bit and like kind of make it an even tradesies or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Is there more? And Nick's response to me was, not at the moment. So my new hope, right, is that Dynamite has some other fun male characters. When you think John Carter, you think some of these other characters that they have, I would love to see them do Dan and I have joked about it before, the women of Dynamite do Bridesmaids. I would love to see the other side of that, like The Hangover featuring the male characters of Dynamite. Like, something where they're all together on some sort of adventure.
Yeah.
I think that would be super fun. And I think Scott Lobdell, who wrote This Evil Ernie, would be a great person to write that story.
Yeah, we got a new John Carter #1 coming out next week. So
John Carter, warlord of a terrible movie, but also way better comic books.
That wasn't a bad movie.
I like the movie.
Yeah, same here.
You're both wrong.
You hate every movie. You're the frickin' Mikey of movies.
It's true. But
So
when
you don't get to vote.
But when a movie is Kix cereal good, which if you've ever eaten Kix cereal, it's awful. I will say so.
John Carter movie was much better than people give it credit for.
I'm not saying it wasn't, but I'm saying it could have been way better than it was. The comic books are phenomenal. And that movie was like meh.
There's also some good books about it too.
It's true, which is kind of, again, part of my problem, right? It's like if they make a Tarzan movie, I want it to be Tarzan, not Disney's Tarzan. I want it to be Edgar Rice Burroughs' Tarzan.
But with Disney's Tarzan, we got Phil Collins music.
That was the best part of the movie.
Yes, it was.
Shout out to Phil Collins. I'm sorry, Genesis just broke up. All right. Betty Page, #2, Alien Agenda. This is not the A cover.
No. But it's a cool cover.
Well, but the A cover has exposed nipples and will get in trouble on the internet.
Yeah. Didn't notice that till you put it up on Miss Jen's show.
Yeah, they are they're in silhouette, but you can see the pointiness.
Yeah.
Now you got me open up the PDF again. It's Linsner, isn't it?
It very much is.
They're covered.
Not enough for the internet. Like that was my problem. I'm like, oh, okay.
Facebook would take that down.
Yes, it would.
No, they don't do that for art.
They do. Ask Murat Michaels.
Murat,
sorry. It's a habit I have to change now that I've heard how to actually pronounce his name. But yeah, they will because he's had several live videos where he's showing his art get taken down because the coverage is still too revealing. You know, you can't put a pink piece of fabric over a pink part of the female anatomy if you could still see the lines, or they will take it down. Anyhow, Betty Page #2, The Alien Agenda by Ani Mia. I loved this book. This was super fun for me.
Same.
Yeah, it was fun. I didn't love it, but it was definitely fun.
Well, and I will say this: I'm liking this. I'm loving this series compared to the previous Betty Page series. Like I said on Miss Jen's show, Betty Page has been doing a lot of, I'm Betty Page. I'm actually James Bond.
Yeah.
This is, I'm Betty Page. I'm actually Indiana Jones, and it totally works for her.
Yeah.
We talked about it last week. We need to do the series as it's Betty Page stealing a jetpack and a helmet.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
the Rocket Lab.
I love what they're doing with this character right now. I loved it when they introduced the Betty Page as the Mata Hari super spy concept. I got a little worn on it at the end, but now changing the trajectory and being more, okay, I'm more Indiana Jones-ish. Has been a super breath of fresh air, and Ani Mia is just crushing it.
Yeah, she is doing good. Yeah.
She dresses like an actual explorer. I kind of like that.
Yeah, that was the thing. It's weird to see Betty Page in jeans.
Yeah.
But I can get behind it. Like, it makes sense if you're doing what she's doing.
Absolutely.
But the story is really strong. I'm excited to read the next part because where they're headed at the end of this story, it kind of sets their geographical trajectory in a different direction. There's a ton of rich and interesting history there that I'm very excited to see what Ani Mia is going to do with that. Yeah. The one thing I will say is there's an encounter in this book with a mummy, and mummies and zombies are the same thing. They're just from different socioeconomic backgrounds.
Really?
I read it to Jay when I read it on the internet yesterday. I went, this is the funniest thing I've heard in months.
It's pretty. It was funny to me, Dan, but I've heard it like 3 or 4 times now.
Right,
So,
because I've been talking about this book all day. And just shout out for just absolutely destroying this. Like, this was in my opinion, this was one of the most fun books we read this week.
yeah.
Cool.
All right. Do we want to do another Dynamite book or go a different direction entirely?
Surprise us.
Yeah. Oh, this one.
Jay, why don't you lead out on this one, man?
Okay, so this one.
By the way, Breakout by Zach Kaplan and Wilton Santos.
Yes.
We have a viewer from Italy.
Oh, wow.
Hello.
Wait,
one? That's wrong. He's at a steakhouse.
Oh.
What's up, Mario? I know Mario. Mario, by the way, is an incredible chef. If you ever get to eat his food, he used to bring me donuts that he made that would absolutely make my hair fall out. They were so good. So shout out to Mario at Mancy's Italian, where he is working. I'm sure.
Hello, Mario.
Okay, so this one I am definitely going to read again. I really liked it. It's basically, we don't know if these are aliens or what, but just around the world, these cubes just like materialize. Not even like make a big show of coming down to Earth or any of that. No, they just pop up. And they start taking children, or I should say kids. I think
young people is the word they use.
11 and 27.
I thought it was 11 and 20, something like that.
11 and 20.
Like
yeah.
Okay, 11 and 20.
Teenagers, basically.
And one of the characters, his brother's taken, and we're in a very feels like a very protesty book. Like the folks that they don't really do anything. They just make signs. And then there's people that want to do something. And the brother basically puts together this team. And they're going to try to break his brother out of this cube by, I guess, getting captured themselves. This was really good, and I really can't wait for the next issue.
Right. I kind of equated this on Miss Jen's show to Prison Break.
Yeah.
They're going to try, and I mean, this is the first issue, so spoilers. To defeat the cubes, you have to become one of the cubed people. And so they are planning a way to defeat the cubes. But it shows throughout the book that the only way to do that seems to be from inside.
Zach Kaplan has been nailing it doing sci-fi. He does a lot of stuff over at Top Cow. He's been popping up some other publishers, and now he's over here at Dark Horse. But there's definitely an allegory going on here with the fact that the kids are upset because adults don't seem to be trying to stop the cubes anymore because it doesn't affect them directly. And I think this is probably kind of the whole thing when the pandemic first hit. And it was, it only affects old people. We don't have to worry about this. That attitude that,
I think it's even something from before that, Dan.
Yeah.
I think it's school shootings.
Yeah.
This book starts with what to me appeared to be a active shooter drill.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh God, what are we doing? Why are we into this? Like, please don't come down on the wrong side of this, Zach Kaplan. I felt really triggered by it for a minute because Jay and I were probably the first generation post Columbine that had those things in our schools, and something we lived through.
Yeah.
So Dan, did you have? I'm going to make an old joke now. Did you have to get under your desk and put your head between your knees in case the Russians attacked?
Yes.
There you go.
That was, but only in the early years, like in elementary school. But after that, we just did fire drills instead.
Yeah.
So.
That was, kind of my experience. We had tornado drills here. It was super fun.
But yeah, we used to climb under our desk because a chunk of wood is going to stop nuclear fallout.
Right. If anything, the chunk of wood is going to help you turn into the wooden version of the thing. But
super heat is going to come blasting over you. Here's a piece of kindling.
Right. No, but that's what this felt like to me. This is somebody who's going, hey, we've got these situations that our children are living through, our young people are living through, and adults aren't doing enough about it. And Zach Kaplan's not that much older, if any older, than Jay and Sean and I. Sean in the comments. So this is something that he's experienced too. And it's, what are adults doing about it? Well, clearly not enough. And so kids are taking it on their own. And one of the things that really triggered me was there are videos from inside the cubes that they talk about in the book. It's like when you hear the audio from somebody making a phone call during an active shooter situation, or cell phone video of an active shooter situation. You just can't even, right? Well, Sean, we're all about the same age, bro. Like it's, but it, it's
over here.
Dan's old.
Yeah.
No,
Nick and I used to see when you young whippersnapper. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, we're gonna walk away from that one. But no, that's what this felt like to me, and I like the idea of it turning into a heist or a reversed heist type of story.
Yeah. Zach is really good at taking current social commentary and adding it to science fiction, which is what science fiction is supposed to do.
It's true.
So
it's very true. All right. Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, number 5. For the second time with a Dynamite book this week, and it's not the last time I see it. Holy crap. I really dug this book.
Yeah.
It was all of the payoffs I've been hoping to get from Sheena, Queen of the Jungle so far in this series, we're starting to get.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it's Stephen Mooney, who I'm beginning to realize I like Mooney. Like, I love Half Past Danger. I've liked a lot of his other stuff. I like Stephen Mooney, I think is what we're coming to here as a writer. But he's giving me what I was hoping we would start to get in this, which is some sort of closure in this story, because it felt like the first 4 issues was really just expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding on what this had become, right? And then we get to issue 5, and it's okay. It's starting to all kind of come together to a point where we can drive forward in the next few issues from this sort of tipping point that happens in this issue.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on that one, man.
This was a great issue to come in at.
Yeah.
It's great.
No, I could totally see this as a jumping in point. You don't really need a ton of the previous issues, because this book does enough of that previously on Sheena, Queen of the Jungle.
Yeah.
But isn't heavy-handed about it.
Yeah, it was action. Yeah, I dug it. A really good read.
Yeah, that it wrapped up the main story, the current story arc pretty well, and sets us up going forward with some pretty, new stuff. But I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We'll do We Ride Titans number 3.
I keep forgetting about this book because it pops up every once in a while, but it seems to be really paced out.
Yeah, I think it's like issues 1 and 2 came out relatively January 12th, February 23rd. And I think this is a book that got pushed back because of paper shortage.
Mm.
So their vault is just getting caught back up because this book comes out this month, this week. Number 4 apparently comes out in 2 weeks, the 27th. And then issue 5 comes out the end of May.
Oh,
so it's like they're putting 2 close together and then going back to the once a month thing.
Well, the story feels like something we've seen before, like Robot Jocks, or we've kind of dealt
Pacific
with
Rim.
Pacific Rim, and it also feels very slow. Like here we are 3 episodes in, and we've seen like 1 or 2 real battles with these Titans. That said, I'm still enjoying the book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure why I'm enjoying the book. I mean, the art's cool. The characters are interesting. But again, it doesn't feel like it's any, it's not a reinvention of the wheel. It's just, yes, I've seen Robot Jocks, John. But it's just a decent, good story. So I'm enjoying it. But like I said, there really isn't anything specifically new here or anything that gets me excited. But when I sit down and read it, I'm like, oh, yeah, this was cool. But I'll pick up the next one, see where it's going.
So what you're saying is I probably should have read this instead of the Angel one. This was one of the ones I didn't get to.
I think, Jay, the best thing I can do is tell you to pick up 1 and 2 and then read this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, and I said this when number 1 came out, and I said this when number 2 came out. I'm going to say it again when number 3 came out. The story that most interests me is not mechs versus kaijus or mechs versus other mechs. It's the family story of the family dealing with the alcoholic son, who is supposed to be the golden boy rider of Titans, and instead Kit, his sister, comes in and has to save the day. Now, what's interesting in this story to me is this. She is, and she is getting her butt kicked. And the brother, who is the one who's having some trouble, comes in and becomes the voice in her ear and guides her through it. It's relatable to me in a way that it shouldn't be. In that regard, I'm in my family. We talked about this a little bit last week when we talked about addiction and things. I'm the brother in this story, and my sister is the golden child now. Like, my sister's a doctor, and I do this. Not that there's anything wrong with this, but like, it's you find yourself in those situations. But when my sister finds herself in weird employment situations or stuff that's happening in her life that she doesn't, it's stuff I've already experienced. So I can kind of be in that role. So it's super relatable to me. But that being said, I would like to either see them really dive into that rather quickly and kind of put the Titan riding aside for a minute, or go the polar opposite direction and turn this into Pacific Rim. Like, let's do one of the two. Let's stop kind of going half and half on it.
Would you with this? Would you compare this to like Suicide Jockeys, or is that something completely different?
I would say it's very different.
Okay.
I mean, it's not so wholesale different that you couldn't make the comparison, but it's a very sort of Suicide Jockeys has a very specific tone, and this does not.
If you decided to do Pacific Rim as a CW series, it's We Ride Titans.
Yeah.
It just clicked in my head.
So drama.
Yeah, or no, it's a CW series, man. No. Or one of those Canadian soap operas like You know, like
Far and Away.
no, like Heartland or whatever. If it was
Heart-
Pacific Rim, like everybody's always got a little bit of a secret that's a little bit outside, you know, and it's a lot of angst.
Why didn't you still take me for waffles?
Right.
I was
Why
still here, Dad.
Right.
I was still here.
Right. I just keep waiting for a My Chemical Romance song to play.
Oh, jeez. It's amazing.
All right. Shadow Man, number 8. Cullen Bunn and Pedro Andero.
Best book of the week for me. I have been loving this series. Like I showed earlier, I picked up the trade of the first book, or the first 4 books, and I've gotten to read them digitally. So, you know, if I'm actually buying one later, it shows you how much I'm enjoying the series. This is basically Shadow Man versus Deadside. This is the Lao of Deadside trying to come through, and his unique way of dealing with it, and which surprised everybody involved, and maybe the impetus for the upcoming Shadow War series. So this wraps up the Shadow Man series, because they do that at Valiant. They'll do a short run, and then they'll end it, go do another book or whatever. And they constantly keep it fresh that way. So you can pick up, I'm going to get these 8 books. And okay, whatever. Well, Shadow War is next. And this is probably the fastest that they've done something with Shadow Man again after a series in a long time. So this is obviously the setup for Shadow War. But this has been really interesting. You got the return of Punk Mambo, the Abattoirs, and, get more with the you're talking about different mythos and different pantheons. The voodoo gods. We get basically the voodoo pantheon of gods. So.
Yeah. So I was going to say, Shadow Man has not been part of my Valiant experience until we started reading this book. And this is my favorite Valiant book that isn't. And I will say this is my favorite one we've done. Mm-hmm. It's still second behind Exo Man of War, because Exo Man of War was my favorite. But, super solid, super fun read.
Yeah. Yeah. There's not much more I can add to what y'all have already said. I will say this. I've read Shadow Man. Geez, I can't even remember how many trades we have from whatever runs. He's a favorite of Jenna's. He's in my top 5 when it comes to Valiant. I can't wait to actually pick this collected edition up so I can read it all at once myself. The only run that I never liked was the Acclaim. Like when Acclaim had Valiant, I wasn't a big fan of that. But Shadow Man is one of those books that, especially here lately, has been consistently just a great, great read. And a lot of pages in this, without spoiling it, visually stunning at a certain point when something happens, if I can be any more vague. Yeah. Very, very good looking book. And Cullen Bunn, it just feels like he does no wrong in his writing.
I got to say that I look at a lot of these characters, and I'm a writer. So when I look at some of these characters, I think, okay, I would do this, I would do that. I look at Shadow Man, and my thought on that is Cullen Bunn should stay on it. This is a character that I am more happy reading Cullen Bunn's work on it than I would be writing it. Where I would love to write Ninjak or Exo or some of the other characters. Keep Cullen on Shadow Man.
Hashtag Danford Ninja.
Only for anybody else Valiant, but
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this was actually my favorite book of the week.
This was damn good.
Yeah. I love the new costume.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think I was gonna, and then when they made it part of the story, like it sold it for me. So this is Immortal Red Sonja #1, by Dan Abnett and Alessandro Miracolo.
It definitely went a place I didn't expect it to go.
Right.
Tapping into a different mythos, that different era in a sense, but doing it very well.
This is one that I skimmed, but I'm going to go back and read it. Honestly, for me, again, feels like there's so many Red Sonja books that I keep getting things mixed up. Like, I don't remember if we read an Immortal Red Sonja before, or if that was different.
I'm pretty sure Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor's run was Immortal Red Sonja.
Okay.
Or was that Invincible?
Invincible Red Sonja.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick, you're right. This is really a well-written book.
Yeah, no, Dan absolutely crushed it. I don't have words for what this book did for me in terms of the she-devil with a sword kind of feeling that is what I loved about Red Sonja when I discovered it at, reading the original Conan books. When I discovered Conan the Barbarian, and I kind of discovered her Marvel run. Thanks, Nick. And then I just sent you a text about what we were talking about with Evil Ernie. Dan can write it. So like this really was a return to what felt like Red Sonja to me. And there have been a few series. Invincible Red Sonja was not that, but like they've been doing Sonja Versal and some of those that have felt like a very big departure from the Red Sonja that I grew to love. And not that those were bad, but they were just different. This felt like the, original, like she's very much the Red Sonja as it was originally envisioned, except that she's in a very different costume. And the fact that the costume is not entirely non-sentient, like the costume is a character.
Yeah.
That's such a cool way to, in a character whose costume is iconic, to recostume them.
And I appreciate that Dan did something that I think a lot of other writers wouldn't do. She's the only one that hears the costume, the shirt.
Right.
Where having a character have someone to talk to, even if it's a cursed shirt, makes writing easier. Even if it's just a severed head or something. Instead of them just speaking or writing a bunch of thought bubbles, having them to be able to converse really helps. So the fact that she's having these one-way conversations would have been a lot easier as a writer to hear that. But I think it also would have destroyed the story.
Yeah. And we saw that in Joy Operation, right? Where when you can see both sides of the conversation, if it's a voice in your head or it's a voice only you can hear, hearing both sides of the conversation doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Makes it hard to read, hard to follow the story. This, and if you need a pause, if you need a beat in a story, you could just say, would you just shut up? And that gives you a minute for her to reset her thinking.
Yeah.
And you can come back into your plot line. Dan Abnett just destroyed this in such a fabulous way. In this, I will say this is the book I'm most excited to read the next issue of.
Fair enough.
Because it also leaves it in a really fun place, right? Like you get this big battle with this big creature thing that I think if you've read comics for any period of time, you recognize that that's coming from the first two paragraphs or the first two panels. Like you're like, oh, this is clearly not what it appears. But then it leaves you in a place where you're like, oh, okay, we're gearing up to find another gear. Like, I don't know how else to put that. We're gearing up to go to another level where we're not.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, shout out to David Nakayama for that cover.
True.
I mean, it's gorgeous. It shows off the new costume very well. David has been around and just growing and growing and growing. I worked with him on the first Grimm Fairy Tales I ever did. He did the cover with the 3 blind mice hanging. And I've just been impressed by David every time I see his work. And yeah, this is gorgeous.
Yeah.
There is also a Stephanie Hans cover that I quite like as well. I believe it's a store variant for someone, but I will be seeking it out. I'm trying to find out who the store variant. There's also a really killer Jay Lee, by the way.
Oh yeah, Jay can do no wrong on his stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't say on my list who got the Stephanie Hans variant, but I will show it to y'all real quick. Because it is absolute fire.
Yeah, I'm seeing it. I'm not seeing which who got it either.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of great covers on this. Like the Jay Lee cover is really good.
Yeah.
There's a David Costa.
There's a Marat Michaels Liefeld homage.
Yeah. So, but this one for me, man. Oh.
Yeah. Wow.
So
there's also a really nice cosplay cover featuring Gracie the Cosplay Lass, who is a great embodiment of Sonja. So,
yeah, I don't generally go in for the cosplay covers, but Gracie's cosplay covers on these have been very good.
Yeah. By the way, she also makes cakes, and she's phenomenal.
I will say this: the one knock I have on the cosplay cover of this, it's the old costume. It's not the new costume.
It is, but then they didn't release that this was a new costume coming. So these girls wouldn't have had a chance to.
They could have told her. She does all the Red Sonjas. It's like, hey, pick up the phone, man.
Yeah.
Let Gracie wear a shirt, even if it is made of crazy, possessive chainmail. Just saying.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. So as always, those are our books that we've read this week that are in stores. We will be back next Tuesday. Well, Jay and Dan will be back. I am off next Tuesday, which would be super.
See the return of the Kyle puppet.
The Kyle puppet returns.
Yeah.
But they will be back next week with more books. I will be back the week after, hopefully, fingers crossed. But in the meantime, head out to your local comic shop. And pick up books. They still, as Dan likes to say, they still have comics at your local comic shop.
They do.
So make sure you pick.
Unlike MDV doesn't play music anymore.
Right. Make sure you go there and take some home with you so they have less.
If you don't know where your comic shop is, go to comicshoplocator.com, put in your zip code, and they'll tell you where to go.
Right.
Or you text me and I'll tell you where to go.
Yeah. If you want to text Dan, you can do that, I suppose. But head to comicshoplocator.com, type in the area code where you are, or the zip code where you are, and it will tell you where comic shops are close to you. It's super handy when you travel, which is one of the things I will be doing in the next 2 weeks, when I may be here or may not. And as a result, I need to know where local comic shops are nearby to me. So, for Dan and Jay, I've been Kyle. Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.